The right to own property is woven into the fabric of what it is to be a free person. It's part of the American dream. As governments grow, property rights and their protection have long been a concern for all free people. In 19th century America, those free people began organizing into real estate boards. By May of 1908, 19 of those original boards organized to establish the National Association of Real Estate Exchanges, better known today as the National Association of Realtors. The First World War had ended and soldiers were returning home to Louisiana. Home, for many at that time, were rural farming communities. Louisiana had 6 major population centers in 1919: Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Shreveport, Monroe, Lake Charles, and Alexandria. New Orleans, Shreveport, and Alexandria had active real estate boards who, in that same year, started a movement to create a statewide organization to include all 3.
They knew at the time, the men and women that started this association, they knew they needed to organize. And organize in terms of how can we make the industry better? How can we come together while we're competitors during the day and at night in the business side of it? How can we come together to make this industry a success?
On May 8th of the following year, the Louisiana Real Estate Association was founded in Alexandria, Louisiana. This type of statewide organizing was an emerging trend, a response to the growing complexities of transacting real estate in a quickly developing culture. The Homestead Act of 1862, which awarded ownership of land to anyone that would farm it for a period of 5 years, had created a situation rife with corruption. In the late 18 and early 1900s, a legitimate buyer would have to travel to the courthouse in the county in which they wanted to buy to confirm that the seller indeed owned the land they were claiming to be able to sell. Fraudulent transactions were so common that legitimate real estate brokers were treated with skepticism, which hurt the industry. The Louisiana Real Estate Association and others like it across the country were founded, in part, to fix this problem. The first order of business for the Louisiana Real Estate Association was to pass a statewide real estate licensing law. The bill was formulated by the New Orleans Real Estate Board and presented to the Louisiana legislature, which was in session at the time. The state association endorsed the bill, with several minor changes, and appointed a committee to go to Baton Rouge, the state capital, and work for its passage. They were successful, and the Louisiana Real Estate Licensing Law went into effect January 1st, 1921. This first bill, and the many that followed, were all aimed at a single purpose: to protect the legitimate real estate interests as well as the buying publics, and generally to elevate the real estate profession.
There are many benefits to being a realtor in the Louisiana Realtors. One of the largest and most important to all of our members is our political advocacy. And it's not just politics. We are a huge organization that does consumer advocacy. I would say 95% of our legislation is consumer oriented. And therefore, if we pass legislation, it helps our customers, who are the public at large, every homeowner in the United States.
On June 18, 1921, Louisiana adopted its 10th Constitution, a document that would last some 53 years. It was more than a half-century that would see the rise and fall of Huey P. Long, the Great Depression, and World War II. In those same years, the Real Estate Association slowly grew. Brokers across Louisiana organized themselves into local boards that would join the statewide association as years passed. In 1946, the Louisiana State Association was adopted into the National Association of Realtors.
Well, NAR was operating, I think at that time, directly with local associations and not directly with the states. So they gradually started picking up the states, and I think across the country around that time, each state across the country started participating, and then so it became the National Association, then under the state, and then the local. And it's been a great marriage. So I think it's been very successful, and everything is channeled through from local to state to national.
The 1960s were a tumultuous time, marked by the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and anti-war protests. It was a time of change. This was reflected when, in 1961, the Real Estate Association changed their name to Louisiana Realtors Association. This change would be called prophetic by some in light of the fact that the term realtor was first coined at the 1916 convention of the National Association, which was held in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Louisiana REALTORS Association grew in size and influence. Establishing and cultivating relationships with elected officials was key.
I lived down in Houma I was a realtor there for 28 years, and Billy Tozan was our legislator, our congressman, and I was his federal political coordinator. In other words, I was kind of assigned to him to make sure that he got the news from us, what we were looking for, and those were the days with not much technology, so it was a lot of phone calls that you make. And we would go to all his fundraisers, and he was a Democrat, and as many people down in the South are. And so we got to talking about it, and I said, Billy, I said, this is ridiculous. I said, you say you're a Democrat, but you act like a Republican. Why don't you change your party affiliation? And he looked kind of funny, and he said, I think you're right. And by golly, he did. He changed his party affiliation to Republican. Pretty interesting.
These relationships forged by the Louisiana REALTORS Association benefited buyers and sellers of real estate across the state in many ways. One such example was the passage of Louisiana Revised Statute 9.3196, which mandated the use of a property condition disclosure.
It is a form that the seller completes when he lists a piece of residential property, providing information for the buyer so that he has a better idea of when the house was built, the condition of the house, improvements that may have been made on the house, any issues that might have happened with the house, such as if there'd been a fire in the house, had it been damaged by a storm. So all of those types of disclosures are made by the seller so that the new purchaser or someone looking at the house has a better idea of the condition.
In 1976, the Louisiana REALTORS Association moved into their first headquarters.
We really needed to go from a one-person show to where we had an assistant to the executive secretary, and we needed somebody that could do the bookkeeping. And in fact, one of the things that I did as president was change the bookkeeping system where we into three distinct categories. One was an administrative category where administrative expenses and income were kept. The second one was the state conventions, where the state conventions were a big deal, and we needed to know how we did. Were we breaking even, or were we making money? Were we losing money? So we had broken it out into a separate set of books. And the third was the education department, which was growing. The GRI, the Graduate of the Realtors Institute program, was just becoming established nationwide, and we were getting into high gear and did an exceptionally good job of that, if I do say so myself.
During that period, people didn't do a whole lot of business across the state. You were in the north, you were in the south, you were in the east and the west, and I believe that was part of the expansion period of a lot of businesses reaching out and growing to become larger firms, full state firms rather than just single community firms. Part of that was the technology transition. I believe one of the 2 years or 3 years that I was there in a leadership position, we provided fax machines to associations so they could communicate. So the communications lines were, you either came to a meeting and got the information, or you waited until the mail came. After that period, yes, it expanded quickly because individuals had quicker insights, quicker knowledge of what was occurring, and calls to action for legislative issues were more effective than just trying to call someone that would call someone that would call someone to get them to do some sort of activity. That's one of the really great things that Norman brought. Was Norman had great experience in the legislative process, and he was able to bring us into the 21st century.
From there, the Louisiana REALTORS Association would bring about landmark legislation which included Louisiana's Fair Housing Law and a constitutional amendment to permanently ban real estate transfer taxes.
We were coming off of huge initiative in the year prior that kind of ended up in my year, which was an initiative to keep transfer taxes from being attached to the sale of real estate. And it was something that was in vogue in different other states. And we were proactive at Louisiana Realtors. And with the state legislature, we got a bill passed that prohibited any transfer taxes to be imposed on any sale of real estate in the state of Louisiana.
We utilized the members to reconnect with their customer base to explain our short message of what needed to be done. Then you take our staff, in which you had to have public relations, you had to have a campaign, and of course you had to have a legislative engineer to be able to first pass it through the legislature, and then secondly we had to communicate with the consumers and the members the importance of our movement of what we were trying to do.
The Louisiana Realtors Association advocates for industries that touch and affect our industry as well. For example, we were instrumental in making sure that home inspectors became licensed, and today here we are, a wonderful industry with our home inspectors licensed, insured, and guess what? The consumer is the winner.
A dedicated membership of professional realtors have always been at the core of the Louisiana Association's success. It's a family.
Real estate has been good to me. It's been good to my family. Made a lot of friends throughout these 47 years in the business. And the people that are in real estate, and particularly in the running of the organization, are above and beyond the average person.
Realtor members operate in every corner of the state. This network makes it possible for issues of national significance to reach the most local of levels, and for the most local of issues to obtain statewide attention.
As a result of Louisiana Realtors, we have assets available to us nationwide to help us with the smallest problem in a community that affects home ownership.
Louisiana Realtors is also a network of support when natural disasters hit. When Hurricane Katrina leveled New Orleans in August 2005, Louisiana Realtors responded by creating the Realtor Relief Fund.
It's realtors helping realtors. It's giving from the heart. It's making sure that those people who needed a place to stay or needed an office or just needed help could get help and come to their realtor friends and get it.
In 2007, as I remember it, Habitat for Humanity was the largest single builder in Orleans Parish. And the realtors participated in a couple of builds like that around that time. And it was of course, heartwarming to see that and to be a part of it.
In 2013, lightning struck the Louisiana Realtors Association building at 4639 Bennington Avenue in Baton Rouge. The ensuing fire consumed the structure.
I was getting dressed that morning and I got a text from our Louisiana Realtor executive at that time, Malcolm Young, and he sent a photo of a building on fire. And I saw it and I was thinking, well, what building's burning down? And then as I looked closer, I saw it was the Louisiana Realtor headquarters. So that was a huge burden on my shoulders and on the association's shoulders to try and figure out what we were going to do with no office.
We formed a building committee. I was on that committee, and we identified several buildings. By the time my year came around, I was installed, we selected this building. We decided to do a complete renovation, and now we have an absolutely well done, great, gorgeous building here downtown Baton Rouge that I'm proud to have been a part of during my year.
When we did the grand opening, a lot of our realtors from all over the state had a chance to come to our headquarters for the first time. We have a lot of new realtors, and a lot of times they don't get a chance to come to the headquarters. They had this opportunity to come help us do a ribbon cutting, see the facility, understand what the facility means to them, and understand too that it's their facility. We did an assessment for 4 or 5 years in order to pay off that facility, and we were able to do it in minimal time. So our realtors are benefiting from that and from some good financial moves that we made to try to make sure that we're not paying on something and renting something. We own our building. Our members own our building. It's a fantastic facility. It really is. And they all benefit from it for years to come.
With a new building at 821 Main Street in Baton Rouge came a new name. Louisiana REALTORS Association changed their name in 2013 to simply Louisiana REALTORs.
One of the benefits of being a member of the Louisiana REALTORs is our educational program. We every year provide to the local boards educational opportunities for their members to take continuing education, to bring in speakers that the local board probably couldn't afford to pay for, and we'll bring them to 2 or 3 cities around the state and offer continuing education. And since each of our members has to get 12 hours of continuing education every year, this is a great benefit to them.
Louisiana REALTORS stands today as the state's largest trade association with influence at the local, state, and federal level.
We are actually known very well at the Capitol when we come there. Our presence is pretty overwhelming. In fact, this year we were so fortunate we had over 600 members, and we all had our Realtor Blue, as I call it, which is similar to this color, Louisiana Realtor shirts on, and we just kind of converged on the Capitol. So we were doing it with our first-time homebuyer tax rebate, but we were also doing it in celebration of the 50-year anniversary of the Federal Fair Housing Act.
For 100 years, Louisiana REALTORS has worked to improve the lives of Louisiana citizens by shaping the laws that govern real estate in Louisiana. What was true 100 years ago remains true today. Free people enjoy the right to own property. That's a line which Louisiana REALTORS have held for over 100 years, and a line which they will continue to hold through the support of their Realtor family for many years to come.
When I reflect on the 100-year anniversary of Louisiana REALTORS, the first word that comes to mind is wow. You know, go back to 1919 and think what those men and women had to go through and the sacrifices they made, the Realtors, to form this wonderful, wonderful organization. In order for us to get to the 200th year anniversary of Louisiana REALTORS, we all have to continue to look forward. Look what's coming around the corner. Be diligent, be prepared. Work together in order to meet the challenges that we may not even know today that exist, so that we can be prepared to continue to make Louisiana REALTORS the epitome of excellence moving forward. And to those men and women that will be around for the 200th anniversary, I hope they look back and say, we were good stewards of the industry, of the association, and we carried that torch just like those men and women did in 1919 to get us to 2019 in a very, very successful fashion.